everyone, welcome to DIY with Nancy. Today I'm going to share how to make a simple classic cheesecake that I personally love to make during the summer months. But the kick to this recipe is I'm going to add a topping of my homemade caramel. Now, if you missed the homemade caramel recipe, which I had on last week, I'm going to place the link to my homemade caramel in the description box down below, and also leave the link at the end of the video so that way you know how to make my homemade caramel, which is only 4 ingredients. But today I'm gonna make my classic cheesecake, and I'm gonna show you how to make it step by step. So stay with me and let's get to baking. Here are the ingredients you'll need to make my classic cheesecake. 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs, and 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. That's to make the crust. Now to make the cream cheese filling, you'll need 3 packages of cream cheese at room temperature, 350 grams each, 4 eggs, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of full-fat sour cream, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'll also list these ingredients in the description box down below. Now let's get started with the first step. I have a 9-inch springform pan with a latch, just a lot easier to remove your cheesecake once it's formed. I have some parchment paper at the bottom so my crust and cheesecake doesn't stick, and all I've done is place some butter at the bottom, and that really helps when I'm forming the crust and my parchment paper is not moving around, so it just makes things a lot easier. Now at this point you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And now I'm going to get started in preparing the graham cracker crust for the cheesecake. Now this is a simple process. All I'm going to do is place my melted butter into my graham cracker crumbs. I'm going to combine it until it comes together and forms a cookie crumb. So I'm going to keep mixing the graham cookie crumbs with the butter, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready to be formed into the crust. Okay, my cookie crumb crust is coming together. How I know? I'm going to take some of the cookie crumbs, press it together. You see that? It's come together. It's ready to form the crust. Let's move on to the next step. Now I have my springform pan ready to go. Pour all of the crumbs into the bottom of the springform pan. Get that all in there. Now that I have all the crust in my springform pan, I'm going to use my spatula to flatten, press the cookie crumbs right at the bottom of my springform pan. I'm not going to bring the crust to the sides of the pan, just the bottom. I'm going to flatten it, and I'm using a very flexible rubber spatula that does the trick. You can also use a flat measuring cup or your hands, whatever works, whatever does the trick for you. I'm just going to continue to even out the crust, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and it's ready to go in the oven. Now let's get the crust in the oven, bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes in the middle rack. Baked crust is out of the oven. I'm going to let it cool completely, move on to the next step in preparing the cheesecake filling. Let's get started with the cream cheese mixture. On my stand mixer, I'm going to add my granulated sugar to the mixing bowl, and then I'm going to add the room temperature cream cheese that I cut into smaller cubes, just easier to place into the mixing bowl. So once you have your cream cheese and your granulated sugar, you're going to add your paddle attachment for the mixing. You're going to place your mixer on a medium speed, combine the sugar and the cream cheese until it becomes creamy. Then I'll show you the next step. Now after a minute of mixing the cream cheese and the sugar, I like to stop the mixer, use my spatula to scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl. You want to make sure that your cream cheese mixture is well combined. Now that I've scraped down the bowl, I'm going to turn the mixer back on to a medium speed, place my room temperature eggs into the cream cheese mixture one at a time. Very important step. You want to make sure your eggs are well combined. Next, you're going to add your room temperature sour cream. So I'm going to place the sour cream into the mixture. As you can see, the mixer is going on to a medium speed. I just want to make sure all my sour cream is in there. So I'm going to scrape down my measuring cup. A lot of sour cream in there. Make sure it's all well combined. Now I'm going to add
the vanilla extract, and that's 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and that's it for all of the ingredients. You just want to mix it for an additional 30 seconds. The cream cheese mixture has been mixing for about 3 minutes in total. It's ready. We're going to pour it onto the graham cracker crust. So let's move on to the next step. Moving on to the next step. I have 2 sheets of foil paper that I've cut evenly, and I've overlapped one on top of the other. And then what I'm going to do is I'm placing my springform pan right in the center, and I'm going to place the foil paper around the outside of the springform pan. I'm going to place it nice and tight just to avoid any leakage of the cheesecake, and as well to prevent any water seeping into my cheesecake, because I'm going to be placing this cheesecake in a water bath. So I'm going to place the foil paper around the springform pan, and then I'll show you the next step. Next, I'm going to pour this creamy cheesecake batter right into the center of the springform pan on the graham cracker crust that has been baked and cooled. So once that's all in there, I'm going to show you the next step. Now for the next step, I have a square aluminum tray that's oven safe. I'm going to place the cheesecake in the center in a water bath. The water is hot boiling water. I'm going to fill it halfway to the tray. Just going to pour all the water in there. Then I'm going to place the cheesecake in the center of the tray and then bake it in the middle rack at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and 10 minutes. Nice and slow. Let's get the cheesecake onto the tray and into the oven on the middle rack. The cheesecake is ready to go into the oven. I'm going to bake it at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and 10 minutes. Now you want to make sure you place your cheesecake in the center rack of your oven. Let's get the cheesecake baking. The cheesecake is out of the oven. It looks perfect. Now it's still in the water bath. I'm going to let it cool down for about 30 minutes before I remove it, but I want you to see the center of the cheesecake. Look at the center. Look at that. Jiggly center. That's what you want. Now I'm going to let the cheesecake cool, and then I'll show you the next step. The cheesecake has cooled down. I have a cooling rack. On the cooling rack, I'm just going to place a tea towel, because once I remove the cheesecake from the water bath, there can be some excess water. So I'm going to let it completely cool down and rest before I place it in the refrigerator for about 6 to 8 hours, and then I'll show you the next step. Well, here is my cool and set cheesecake. Look at that. It looks perfect. I'm going to remove it out of the cake pan and place it on a serving platter or a plate, cake plate. And I'm just going to try to do this with you because I want you to see how easy it is. Look at that. Okay, everyone, so what I've done is just inserted my cake spatula, or just a spatula underneath. And I'm going to use my cake spatula, which is a little larger, to place it onto my cake plate. Just lift it and then place it underneath. And I'm going to slide this out. Get my cake plate ready. There we go. Now I have the parchment paper, which I'm going to slowly remove. Just like that. And I'm going to slide off the cheesecake from the cake plate. Just like that. Well, here is my classic cheesecake, and it's simple and delicious to make. I'm going to top it with my homemade caramel, so let's do that. Now, here is the caramel. I have placed it in the microwave for about 25 seconds. It is very loose now. I'm just going to pour it right on top. And then I'm going to spread it out evenly. All right. Now with a spatula, just gonna spread it out evenly right towards the edges. And you wanna make sure you do this once the cheesecake is completely cooled. Now today I'm decorating the cheesecake with just plain caramel, but I have made it with caramel, and then in the edges of the cheesecake I've placed some score pieces or toffee bits, and that's just a few options of how to decorate the cheesecake. And there you have it, everyone. That's my classic cheesecake recipe with a caramel topping. Let's bite into it and show you what it looks like inside.
Okay, everyone, it's time to cut into this classic cheesecake with caramel topping. Wow. I just have a tea towel here that I'm wiping my knife on because I want to make sure that I get a clean cut on both sides of the cheesecake. Here we are. Look at that. Perfection. You have a thin layer of crust so you can have more of the cheesecake with that caramel topping that just goes right into that cheesecake. It's that time, everyone. Let's get a piece of this delicious cheesecake with caramel. Look at that. Wow. This is a soft cheesecake with a caramel topping that absolutely melts in your mouth. It's cool, refreshing for the summer months, and I hope you give this recipe a try. And there you have it, everyone. A classic cheesecake with caramel topping. The caramel is optional. Personally, I love caramel anything, so I added it to my cheesecake. The cheesecake texture is very soft. It's not a very firm cheesecake. It's mouth-watering, really. Listen, for the summer months, why not make this simple cheesecake that is cool, refreshing, and very satisfying? I'm gonna bite into this again, or just get just a little bit more. Let me tell you, you're gonna wanna try this recipe. Like I said, no caramel. You don't need caramel if you don't like caramel. The cheesecake in itself is just very satisfying and delicious. I hope you all give this recipe a try. It's really easy. Hope you liked the recipe. And if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care until next time.